Today we have Natasha on the pod. Natasha is the founder, CEO, and executive producer of Cold Tea Collective, a media outlet, multicultural marketing, and PR agency. She has over 20 years of experience and has been recognized for her contributions to anti-racism, community engagement, youth leadership development, and cultural leadership. Natasha is a fourth-generation Chinese-Canadian daughter, wife, and mother. Natasha, welcome to ThinkSpace.
Thank you so much. I feel like I can think clearly with big thoughts and ideas because this is just such a lovely setup. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Honestly, I'm so pumped to have you here because I was telling my friend Riley the other day, who we actually interviewed today as well, that years ago, I was like Googling, who do I want to be when I'm older? And I came across Natasha Jung.
Oh my God.
And I remember emailing you and just being like, yo, like, will you mentor me? And it's just so crazy, how many eras we've known each other through now.
Yeah, both of us.
Yeah.
I think both of us have been through a lot since then. I think that was like 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you're the one who introduced me to Kevin.
Not going to take credit for that. Actually, when you told me that, I was like, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad it worked out.
Yeah.
Because real recognize real. And when the vibes are right, they're right. And that's when things work. And you do amazing things.
Aw, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me, what season is Natasha in right now?
Oh my gosh.
What's going on?
Yeah, it's not, okay. Despite being in a particular season, I think there's always different weather conditions. I'm trying to get super philosophical about this, but I don't really need to, I guess. So where I'm at right now is I think I'm in a really good space. I think I'm in a good space where I'm being challenged. I'm also avoiding as much as I can burnout, but I can turn up the dial and turn up the heat where I need to show up for my friends, my family, my clients, and the community. I think that if you had asked me this a year and a half ago, it definitely would have been very different. I was just running on overdrive for way too long, saying yes to everything, but I'm in my season of no.
Oh, I love that. You know what's so cool is because the last time I saw you, you were in that season. So what are some of the steps or what are some of the things that you've been saying no to that have given you more capacity?
Ooh. The things that I've said no to are shame, for one thing. What I mean by that is I actually went through a very specific and challenging journey of shame and not necessarily self-doubt, but shame for wrapping myself around oh, I should be able to do this. I should be able to do that. I should have done this already. I should have done this shoulda, woulda, coulda, timing, all that kind of stuff, right? And just accepting that for what it was, what it is, and just not feeling any shame around it and just seeing it as, how do I say, just seeing that time or things that I felt shame around as a reflection of my think space, my mind space, how I was taking care of myself or lack thereof, and making decisions based on survival and not in a capacity for which I could make the best decisions. And so the things that I'm saying no to go back to your question, are, shame, but also FOMO. And especially when there's not alignment, whether it be with a project, a client, an event, social event even, and just, owning and honoring my own decisions.
Oh my God, there's so many things I want to say to that. So one thing is it almost sounds like the quality of your thoughts. Would you say that's true? The quality of your thoughts has improved, the quality of your mind space?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really great way to distill that. And I think that you can only have high quality thoughts if you surround yourself with high quality people, high quality, or not necessarily just high quality, but the quality of intention and time and energy that aligns with where you are personally and the life you want to live currently and the life you want to move toward. And so a lot of that comes that comes with self-compassion, and that comes with moving slower with confidence and accepting and appreciating that slowness when it does happen. I'm the kind of person where I get really antsy if like I don't know what's coming up next and stuff, but I've been very fortunate over the last, I think like 3-4 months to know exactly what I need to do and exactly what time, but also working on my own pace, but still also working towards an end goal. And that's been really helpful for me. In terms of like my work and the clients that I take on, I try to do things almost like from a project basis now. Ever since quitting my full-time job just over 3 years ago now, I realized that, my brain has changed, my brain chemistry. Like, that was about a year and a half, postpartum as well, that at that time when I quit my job. And creating, I guess, this space or this buffer for me to have high quality thoughts has been really helpful for me to move with intention.
Question. Okay. I feel like you've gone through so much change in the past couple years.
Yes.
Okay.
To say the least.
Yeah. And like in navigating that, not just professionally, personally, like in navigating that, like how did it transpire? And what I mean by that is like, did it transpire in the way that maybe you thought it was going to? Like the version of you that was going to have her own business, have a baby, be a partner, you know what I mean? Be living this busy life. Like when you don't have those things, for example, and you're like, oh, that's the vision I'm going towards. You have a perception of what you think life is going to be like. Is it like what you thought it was going to be like, or how is it different?
Well, I thought my brain would work better. I think I knew that I knew that I would be tired, exhausted as a new parent, but I thought that I would not physically bounce back, but at least mentally bounce back. But hormonally, as well as just capacity-wise and like sleep deprivation, like makes a huge difference. I learned a lot of things about myself. So, for example, I'm in my late 30s, and it wasn't until my son was about a year old that I sought out an ADHD diagnosis or like assessment, and that just completely like shifted the way that I saw myself or understood myself, and changed my expectations of myself as well. Not without a lot of challenge, for sure. What I expected or what I envisioned for myself moving into this era of my life, I think was a lot more like harmony, or at least a lot more like flow, less like fewer obstacles when it came to doing like the day-to-day grind of, running a household, raising a kid, dog, wife, daughter, like that's who I am, right? And so all these different parts of me, I realized that there is not enough time to do all of it. Not just time, but like my brain capacity, my mental capacity, my emotional capacity, and my ability to regulate my emotions and make clear decisions. I try to slow down quite a bit more now.
And does that come easily to you?
No, not at all. ADHD, hyperactivity in the brain for me specifically, does not come easy for me, but I think the pace that I'm working at right now is really good. In terms of, I think expectations, I just didn't think it would be this hard.
Yeah.
I think that's like fair to say.
I think that's super fair to say. I don't think I would have thought it would have been this hard if I didn't have so many examples around me being like, yo, bro, this is hard. Yeah, and it kind of gives me, not kind of, 1,000,000,000% gives me the consciousness to know right now as a woman without dependence, like the space, the capacity, the runway that I have in comparison to when I will not have this.
Yeah, and how does that make you feel though? Do you feel like I guess like you're looking at your future self, like how do you create that like space for that? And like, does it scare you to have to sacrifice some of the things that you're working towards building right now? Or
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. I don't. You know what? I think back in the day, I thought like pre my close friends and my mentors having children. I think I thought it was just like Disney, like end of the rainbow, like okay, you go over the hill and it's all sunshine and it's just easy and good. Now I see the living examples of it, and I'm like, oh, like life is a series of trade-offs, right? Like even the trade-offs that you make with your time, your energy. I have people in my ecosystems who absolutely loved what they did, and then they became a parent and they just want nothing to do with that anymore.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't have the exact stats, but so many career-driven women I know just like did not go back to work after having kids because they're like, how the hell am I gonna like do this? Like raise this kid, run this household, you know, be there for my friends and family while also like being like mentally depleted, you know, by like 4 p.m., 5 p.m. It's not impossible, but yeah, people like specifically women are choosing more and more often not to go back to the workforce, or at least not in the same capacity or way that they have in the past. I also think with that too, it's because, you know, going back to work after mat leave, if you are, you know, have full-time employment and such, it's very different. And, you know, I struggled with that transition back. It was just like way too much. I was getting sick. Like I was basically sick constantly for the only like 4 months that I was back at work before I quit my job. I quit for a couple different reasons.
What was that experience like for you?
It was really intense because I think there was actually technically only like 1 day a week that I had to be in the office, but just to map it out here. So for those listeners in the Lower Mainland, so you'll know what I'm talking about, but I live in East Van, okay? I drive my kid to daycare in Richmond.
Oh my God, I remember
in East Richmond,
this.
yeah. And then if it was a day that I was in the office because I needed the car, I would drive back through East Van into deep East Van to go to the office. And then it's like, oh shoot, like, am I going to be able to cook dinner? Like, am I going to be able to like walk my dog? Like, what is a gym? You know what I mean? Like, what is self-care? But yeah, just expectations around like working hours, not being able to truly turn off, not being able to finish what you need to do during the day because you have to go like rush to go, you know, pick up your kid or whatever it might be. Yeah, it was just chaotic and it was just all over the place.
And it sounds like it's one of those, well, it is, you can't return a baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, no, you're with me forever. And so like this role isn't going to shift. So it kind of is like you know, like if I ever watch A Day in My Life, when it's like a mom and it's like at the end, she's always like, and then I'm going to do it all again tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. And there's like this repetitive nature to it, right? But so like in some ways, is it grounding or in like, how does it make you feel?
Ooh, the repetitive nature is what destroyed me. That is literally what destroyed me in early motherhood. Because I didn't have my like social support network in terms of like, you know, like when you're working in an office or like you have like coworkers you see all the time and friends and peers and all that kind of stuff, like talking to adults, you know, that was huge. It kind of destroyed my brain not to have that. But also all these little micro decisions and interruptions that you are experiencing throughout the day, it literally destroys your brain. Once again, I'm really bad at stats, but like there's a study around, you know, a mom gets interrupted or has a request at least 3,000 times a day from their kid.
3,000 times?
Yeah, well, that's probably based on like, you know, being a full-time like, you know,
no, but
stay-at-home
I
parent.
believe it.
But yeah, and it's just like having to task switch so much destroyed my brain. I'm a little bit better at it now. Like my memory's a little bit better, but also I'm a woman, so I have a menstrual cycle, which also, you know, impacts my ADHD, like, you know, symptoms and not even just like, you know, that aside, like any human, if they're interrupted 3,000 times a day when they're trying to do whatever it might be, you're not going to get anything done, right?
No.
So it's
all, like
really
how can you focus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't, it's not just about focus, but it's just like, okay, here we go again. And as someone, once again, that has ADHD, like I'm craving that stimulation, that dopamine, but if I'm doing the same shit all the time, it's like, oh my gosh, like, okay, let's get through it. But I learned, especially in the last 2 years, like how to give myself that reward while I'm doing it. Because, having to wait for the reward is not something that I'm very good at.
I wanted to ask you, so you said that you got your ADHD diagnosis 2 years ago?
3 years
3 years
ago.
ago.
3.5 years ago now, I think.
So how, because, okay, I know a lot of people who are really adverse to getting it checked. And then I know some people who have gotten it checked, they have ADHD and they're like, oh, I want medicine. And other people are like, I don't want it. Like, what was your consciousness around getting your ADHD diagnosis? Like, how did it make you feel?
Okay, so I will start off by saying that everyone's journey is different. I made my decisions based on what I thought made sense for me. And of course, do like to each their own, right? And so I'm not suggesting or promoting any particular way, but for my specific journey, I kind of gotten to the point where I was so like confused. I'm like, why is my brain like this? Even just like simple day-to-day, the repetitive day-to-day tasks and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't even an argument that I had with my husband, but he was like, oh, it was something that I was really challenged with. And he was just like, why didn't you just do it this way? In like a helpful way, not like why didn't you do it this way? Like a helpful way, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, why didn't I do it that way? That would have made so much more sense. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, why is my brain so weird? Why is my brain so weird? And like, so I started to look up, thank you LinkedIn for having incredible voices sharing about experiences with like neurodivergence and neurodiversity. So in researching that, I came across ADHD, read up on the symptoms, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's definitely me. So what I did from there is I reached out to my my primary care provider, asked about ADHD assessments. And to be clear, I didn't get a full diagnosis because you actually have to pay either like a shit ton of money or wait like 2 to 3 years, 2 to 3 years for an official diagnosis. But for me, I'm like, I need help now. I'm drowning, right?
I'm drowning today.
Like today, I cannot wait that long. And just kind of seeing, like going down that rabbit hole of research, I knew I had it and I needed not just the tools to help me work through it, but also I needed medication. And I'm like, to be like perfectly clear too, like medication's not for everyone. I was very lucky to have found like the very first medication that was prescribed. It worked for me. And then slowly we would figure out the right dosage for me. Before that, I would never like take any like medication for almost like anything. Even if I got a cold, I would be like, I'm just gonna fight through it, whatever.
She's holistic, baby.
Yeah, like it's I'm gonna build my supreme immunity just by powering through it. But because I was so depleted, I couldn't do that.
You couldn't afford it to not figure it out. I feel like
exactly right. And so through that, coupled with therapy, with an ADHD specialist like therapist. As well as like doing my own learning, a lot of lifestyle changes, really.
And what are those lifestyle changes?
So, ADHD, it's like hyperactivity of the brain for me specifically. Other people, you might think of like bouncing off walls, that kind of thing.
So like more energy in their body.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Versus mine is more cognitive, but not being able to focus and stuff. So some of those changes that were really instrumental for me were recognizing when my high cortisol times were, which is like the highest time of the day, or the time of the day that you have the highest cortisol is the morning when you first wake up, right? Because your system's all like, like what's going on?
I'm awake
like,
now.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And not a morning person, but when you're a mom, you kind of have to be, right? Going on walks after daycare drop off, because it was always such a struggle for me with that, and it was just so intense. I'm like just rushing, and I'm like, okay, help me regulate the nervous system. Breath work was helpful. Even just like box breathing on the drive, like to daycare over the bridge, Night Street Bridge. It's one of the worst.
Chaos.
Yeah.
The amount of traffic you're going through, though.
Oh my God. Well, here's the thing. I don't go back and forth twice in a day. If I'm in Richmond, I stay in Richmond. I find like a co-working space or a coffee shop or like some place to settle down and do my stuff in. But I could not do a bridge twice a day. Or sorry. Yeah, 4 times a day.
Yeah.
No,
that
thank
was
you.
wild. That was wild.
Yeah. No, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, and then also, I mean, it sounds so simple, but sleep, water, healthy eating, leaving my phone in a different room when I need to do work. Otherwise, I would get distracted. Being out in nature. My husband likes to go camping. My son really likes it now too.
Do you like it?
I tolerate it. I'm learning to like it.
You said
I'm learning to like it. But no, I mean, like I've learned to like it for, just kind of removing myself from the daily grind, and it's something more novel, I think. And I think that the things you put up with or accept in nature is very different than what you would accept here, right? It's like,
Tell me more on that.
It's like like there's a spider or an ant. Okay, bye, ant. You just observe it, right? You observe it, you let it be, and as opposed to trying to find some solution to either get away from it or away it. You know what I mean? Like make it like unalive it. So I think with that too, just learning how to appreciate, like the sounds of the water. The lack of sounds at night, the lack of light at night. What else? Just fresh air. It sounds so simple, like just touch grass. You know what I mean?
It is one of those things, but it's like we have to learn how to do that. And like I am not taking away like I don't know what word to use. The word that's coming to me is struggle. I'm not saying that it's a struggle, but like the tension that comes with that, right? With hearing the silence or hearing the water and just like being in nature. Because it's almost like you're a fast engine that's like forced in this very like silent space and you're like, oh, how do I exist here, right? There's this common phenomenon. I don't have ADHD, but there's this common phenomenon that I hear on TikTok where a lot of people feel like they thought that they were like very special in the sense of like, oh, like I had this like really big reservoir. I was able to do a lot of multitasking. I have a lot of energy. And then I realized that it was ADHD. And then it made me feel like, oh, like my competitive edge wasn't my competitive edge. Like, does any of that ring true to you? Or like, does any of that ring true to you?
I think that when I first like learned about my condition, I was like, there was a lot of grief and grieving around it. Like, oh my gosh, like had I known, I could have gotten help, that kind of thing. Or like, oh man, like, oh, this is why, like, I fucked up in this place, or like, I wasn't able to accomplish this goal or whatever. But I kind of quickly moved through that because I was like, that's not really my personality. I try not to kind of dwell on those things.
You're not
like,
a dweller.
Yeah, and like shoulda, woulda, coulda. I don't know.
You're a mover and shaker.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about that after. But thank you. I never thought about it like. But previously, I wasn't like, oh, I'm special. I wasn't. It was never like that. It's more like, for me now, I recognize, okay, like this is how my brain works. This is what I can do to support it, and help me get things done the way that makes sense for me. But also recognizing that, I know it sounds so cheesy, but like my ADHD superpowers is my creativity, is my like ability to think outside the box, so to speak, or see like pattern recognition, whether it be like with people or like cultural phenomena, and that actually pours into my work as well, right? But also, becoming, recognizing that it's my, I guess, sensitivity to others and their energy, and my recognition of patterns allows me to actually be a better mother as well, because I can, like, even like my kid talks like nonstop now, right? But then understanding and predicting how he's going to feel about something, or I can tell if he's getting a little irritated by something that's happening, and I will help him either move through it if it's possible to do so, or B, try to mitigate it, And I think there's like this, if I can share a very specific story, there's just one time where, I don't know, I was working with someone, like they were subcontract or like contracting for me on like an administrative project. And then we had like a weekly check-in or something like that. And they said something that kind of like offended me, like low key. Like I knew it wasn't their intention, but I said something, they said something like, oh, like what ADHD? And I was just like, what? Like, I'm assigning you work that I'm paying you for. And you throw back a comment like, what ADHD? As if it's the expectation that because I have ADHD and have all these other things going on that I'm not able to action on things or think clearly. No, that's like not the case. It's because of these superpowers, so to speak, that I'm able to do all these things and see all these things from all these different perspectives. that's one story. And then another one was when I forgot to take my medication. I was like, oh my God, my brain's so foggy. I'm so tired. Oh my God, what's happening? I literally had a headache and I hadn't had any caffeine either. And I was like, oh my God, this is the worst feeling ever. But then I quickly flipped myself out of that and told myself, no, my brain is beautiful. Like literally, like those are the words that came to my mind. And I'd never thought that way before, but it was because of, I guess, the self-work and compassion I'd been building up for myself that I was able to kind of quickly walk myself through that.
You're on your own side.
Yeah, I think like as opposed to, growing up like, us Asian folk, we were like very critical because we were criticized and all that kind of stuff, and just high expectations and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's like a proud growth moment for me, I think.
I think that's a huge growth moment, dude.
Thanks.
To look at yourself and just be like, no, actually, I love my brain, and that's beautiful. And something I wanted to ask you, it's funny that this is where we're at in the conversation, because it's something I wanted to ask you before you even walked it through the door, was like, something that's been a big curiosity of mine for parents is like the regulation that it takes, the self-regulation to then regulate your child. Like, how has that journey been for you? Because that to me is wild.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
If I were to rate myself from like the supreme example of a regulated parent to like batshit crazy, I'm at like, it depends on the day, depends on the time of the day, depends on if there's been a prolonged period of frustration. You know what I mean? Emotional regulation is not my strong suit because I am such an emotional person. Not saying that I'm like angry all the time, but I lead with emotion, and my emotion comes before my thinking so a lot of the time too.
Yeah.
So if I were to rank myself, maybe like a 5 or 6, like on average from like since becoming a parent. However, I would say in the last like 6 months, I'm pretty proud of myself for recognizing that like, hey, like I don't want my kid to grow up thinking that his mom was like dysregulated and angry all the time, because basically how it works as a parent is that like, monkey see, monkey do, your child sees how you deal with frustration. It's called frustration tolerance, right? And so whether it be like, trying to put together a puzzle or, fix something that like doesn't work or whatever, or showing compassion to other people, and showing them patience as well. The way that he reacts naturally is basically a remix, or it's modeled by how I do. Yeah.
I love it. That's so Natasha coded.
Is it? I know. I was like, oh yeah, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's modeled after, what I show of myself too, right? But I think with that too, what's on the flip side of that, it's not just about emotional regulation, but it's also about repair. So let's just say like me and my kid, like, we have, like, he's almost 5. Like, he'll be 5 like early next year, but we'll be going head to head. I'll be like, let's go. Like, we get out the door. Why aren't your shoes on? Like, blah, blah, blah. And like, I try to slow down now. But the repair part comes when like, I've modeled to him that it's important for me and to me to say, I'm sorry. So, hey, little buddy, I'm sorry. I got angry at you. I was very upset because, or like I was like frustrated because I need to get out of the house at this time because of X, Y, Z, and we were not able to do that. I should have been more patient with you. Will you forgive me, kind of thing, right? And so since the age of like 3.5 or 4, once again, he's almost 5. We've consistently, not as much anymore because I'm trying not to get to that level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been having those kinds of conversations, like those repair kind of conversations, and he'll do the same. So
that is so cool.
Like in the morning, I'll like drop him off, like frustrated. I'm like, oh, whatever. I'll say my piece. Like, it's like sorry or not, and we'll just leave it. But then at the end of the day, when I pick him up from school, he'll be like, "Mommy," I'm like, "Yes." Just in the back of the car, I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "I'm sorry for not getting ready faster this morning." I'm like, "Oh, honey. Okay, thank you I appreciate the apology. Like next time I can help you." And we come up with solutions together on how we can make it more smooth for both of us. You know what I mean?
But isn't that so beautiful? Like, what do you think that will give him that maybe you didn't have as a young person?
Oh my gosh, I hope my parents don't listen to this. But I mean, repair.
Yeah.
Like it's just like the modeling that it is fundamentally so important to repair in relationships, right? And you have to make it known that you're genuinely sorry for something, right? Because otherwise, or like if you say something in the heat of the moment and it's, you know, not true, or like it's actually very mean, or like, you know, ill-willed, knowing how that could actually impact someone else, hopefully like he won't do that, you know? And I definitely like don't do that to him or anything like that. But I hope that it will help him create, I guess, generate that sense of empathy and compassion for other people to like, I don't know, my thing is, you know, do no harm, but take no shit, right? So I hope that, you know, I'll be able to model that for him. And I think, you know, my parents' generation, it's like there's like no repair. There's also little patience or little tolerance for anything below a certain standard sometimes, right? Not always speaking about like myself specifically and like my specific family in general. Yeah. In general and like generationally for sure.
Something I think is so amazing about you is how you have such a beautiful network of human beings, and you've always like how do I say this? It's like it always feels like they're your friends. It doesn't feel like necessarily, you know, when like networking feels like networking versus networking feels like connecting.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're a super connector. And just taking that idea of repair, taking that idea of communication, like how do you feel like that has played into your friendships and your relationships?
I think that are you talking about like friendships and relationships, or are you talking about like business or like public
just
perception?
overall, like I would go more closer, like your closer relationships, your closer network, your tight-knit circle. Like even if I was like, how important is it to just have the conversation and keep it real and go through those awkward moments and get to the other side?
It's incredibly important. And I think that in the past, I probably let too many things slide to the point where like I'm the one being bullied. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not that I would ever bully anyone, but you know, I let people say their piece, and I make space for their thoughts and feelings, and I'm open to it. But I think it also, I have to recognize like when I'm being defensive, or if I'm being defensive, and try not to do that, because that doesn't really create an environment or conversation conducive to repair and moving forward. I really value authenticity when it comes to communication, like communicating from the heart, like what's real, like, you know, real talk. And I've been able to identify like in my life who can meet me at that level and be able to like, if they have like a hard message to tell me, like, hey, you're not gonna like this, but like I've been concerned about you, or like whatever it might be, you know, they're able to do that with compassion as opposed to like beating me down, you know, I appreciate that and respect that the most. Because like I've certainly been in that situation before too, where I felt like sometimes I haven't been able to like say my piece because like I've been scared to like get beat down again, you know, or
what will this cost me?
Yeah, like what, like yes, exactly. What will this cost me, right? So, is it going to cost me my self-respect? Is it going to cost me this relationship? Is it going to cost me my like energy? Like, is it going to? But all these things I take into consideration, and I find that of course, like the more that you do it in the right way, of course, and like using like tools that maybe like a therapist might give you would be like really helpful. And yeah, I'm just really grateful to have people in my life that I feel like I have that kind of rapport with.
Random thought, but would you consider yourself an empath, and have you always considered yourself an empath? If yes,
can you define empath?
Empath is somebody who like can feel energy. So let's say if we're together and I have a big energy and not just like I have big energy, like a lot of like let's say I'm just going through a lot and I have a very palpable vibe. Back in the day when I didn't know that I was an empath and I didn't understand how I was absorbing energy, I would absorb that person's energy and then I would almost become it. Versus like now having tools, knowing where my energy starts and stops, then I can also know where other people's energy starts and stops. So then I can almost like use my empathy in a way that serves me rather than in a way that hurts me.
Thanks for sharing. And the question again was, do I consider myself
Do you
an empath?
consider yourself an empath?
I do. Yeah, I do. And I think like to your point, like the hardest thing is just to figure out like what I can let in and what I need to keep out, and recognizing that like, you know, someone's bad day, I shouldn't let that energy feed into me. And I think I learned that mostly through my son, because once again, like modeling behaviors or what I'm willing to accept as behaviors like towards me or treatment towards me, treatment towards him even, right? You know, is something that is really important to me. Yeah, being an empath, I've never come out and said like, oh, I'm an empath, but like, yeah, I resonate with what you've shared, and of course, like other things that I've read about it. I see it once again like as a superpower for absorbing information and then being able to decide what to do with that, right? It's gotten me into rooms. It's gotten me fantastic interviews with people that I never would have dreamt of even interviewing before. And it's helped, I think, honestly, like help guide our overall voice with Cold Tea Collective as well.
In what way?
Because, you know, Cold Tea Collective, so we share stories to empower the next generation of the Asian diaspora. And so with that, you know, the way that we tell stories is we want to focus on the humans behind the story. We try to tell these stories in a way or from an angle that is not has not yet been explored, maybe in mainstream media or by other outlets. Try to dig a little bit deeper to find out what's the story beneath the story. And being an empath, I think, you know, feeds into that by, you know, let's just say I'm having like an interview with someone. If they kind of shy away from a topic, I can choose to either kind of push them a little bit further or figure out like, okay, actually they don't actually have anything to say about that, or I'm making them uncomfortable, or like they have more that they would absolutely love to say about that, right? And so especially as a journalist or an interviewer, and like you're so great at this, Summan, is to make sure that your guests or your subjects feel comfortable to be able to speak their truth, right? And so creating that safe space is, so core to what we do in storytelling.
Yeah. You know, it's reminding me, I don't remember who this actress was, but there's this clip that you have on your Instagram. And I remember she's wearing like a strapless black dress. She's got this like spiky little earring. And you were asking her something, and I remember something about the Asian experience, and she was so excited to share. It was on some red carpet. And I was just thinking, I was like, wow, how freaking cool for that person to be asked something in such a genuine way and to be able to just share that joy in this phase of her life, in this scene of her life. Like, I think that's so cool. Like, as you've been on these bigger red carpets, as you've been interviewing like creatives who are at scale, what is something that you've noticed about their experience in, like, their Asian experience in those spaces?
Ooh, I gotta think about that. What is something that I've noticed?
Even about your own Asian experience, like being in, like, on a red carpet, right? And being in Hollywood or being in these spaces where there's so many different types of creatives, being the Asian person in the room, right? Like, what is that experience like?
Sorry, I think I'm processing that as like two questions right now. So, okay. So when I'm doing interviews on like carpets, for example, and it's like super, super squishy, super rush, you get like time for maybe one, maybe two questions, if that. My goal is always to ask a question that they've never thought of before, or to your from your example earlier, elicit just a very genuine, heartfelt, enthusiastic, joyful response, right? It like show that I've like done my research. It's not always possible because sometimes you just don't know who's coming down the line. But I think that, you know, a common thread that I've seen is the desire to feel like we belong, the desire to feel validated in our lived experiences, the way we look, being invited to events in the first place, you know, that feeling of belonging and inclusion, which are two different things, of course, and the desire to be seen as a human being rather than just a name on a screen, you know. That's the kind of, even if it's like a 30-second interview, because sometimes they're that long, to be able to create that moment of connection between myself and the person I'm interviewing is always like, yeah, that's what I strive for.
It's so cool. Do you feel like Asian people are starting to feel like they belong more in mainstream media?
I think it depends on which sector you're looking at, right? If you're looking at like media, like news or journalism, storytelling, if you're thinking about, you know, like film and television and such, I think people would have like different responses. Do I think that Asian people feel like they belong or are starting to belong in mainstream media? I think, oh man, I probably like overcomplicate this in my head because I think it is like a very.
It's your world.
It is
you
a very
have to think about it so
I could get canceled
dynamically.
For this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you also have so much data, right?
I do. Yeah. I'm like data points and like try to organize these buckets and stuff. I think it's also different if you compare, if you're asking me about Canada versus the US, you know, I think it's very different. And I'll actually speak to that because I think like maybe some of your viewers or listeners might not be aware, but with in Canada, to be Asian Canadian wasn't really an identity until like 2020 for, you know, obvious reasons, right? And
we all remember what happened then.
Yes, exactly. But then, but Asian Americans, Asian American as an identity in and of itself, like in general, obviously I'm speaking in very broad terms, has been a specific identity for over 20 years. And so I think, yeah, it's kind of tricky for me to answer that because it depends on the place, the context, the time. I think that seeing more wonderful examples of Asians in mainstream media in like brilliant performances with credentials, you know, and just truly showing excellence is always going to be required. And we can't just be that token Asian person anymore in whatever it might be. But I'm thinking that when it comes to that feeling of belonging as an Asian person in media, I think there's still a long way to go, both within the community of, let's just say, if you're only looking at just Asian representation in media compared to also in like mainstream media. Like there's still so much we can accomplish and still so much we can do when it comes to that. And yeah, sorry, this is just like a very complex, like it's a very complex topic. Are they starting to feel like they belong? I think more people are demanding it, which is great. There are a lot of independent like creatives that have some sort of celebrity status that, you know, can bring that kind of cachet to a project and stuff. But let's just say you're not like a nobody, but like you're someone who is not yet known. It's way more difficult to get into specific rooms or have conversations with specific people that could actually truly change your career or the trajectory of what it means to be part of the zeitgeist, so to speak.
It really trickles down. It's complex. It really trickles down. You know, am I saying her name right? Maitri? Mitri?
Maitreyi.
Yeah.
Maitreyi Ramakrishnan.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Seeing her in Never Have I Ever and just her experience and the way that Mindy wrote it, it was just, I felt like I was seeing my childhood on TV, and I have never felt that. I've never felt that. And I'm in my 30s, and I just think that that's so crazy, and it's so cool, and it's just like, you know, I had taken one of my girlfriends, her daughter she's like 13. She's just going through those stages of like, I don't want to go shopping with my mom. So I took her shopping, and she's just like, we're talking about, this is like when Gap had done a campaign, and they had all these different ethnicities in their campaign.
With Cat's Eye?
Yes.
A K-pop group?
Yes.
Yes.
And she was like, and I was like, isn't it so cool that like they have all these different ethnicities in here? She's like, that's just normal. And I was like,
that's good. That's the new normal.
That's so cool.
That is the baseline expectation now. And I love that so much.
I was like, I love that for you, because back in the day, I thought I needed to have really thin eyebrows and be a stick.
I'm still trying to grow them back, you know? Yeah. It's and I love that for the next generation. And we can only really get there if we continue to push for that authentic, genuine, in-depth and like representation, but on like an entire spectrum of like different types of representation. My Trey, she's awesome. Like, I've met her twice. She's so great. And I'm like, I'm so proud that we get to call her Canadian. I'm like, yeah, one of us, one of us, you know? And I'm like, it's really great to see her in her career, and young brown woman. And like, she's such a wonderful example of a thoughtful individual, embracing her flaws, but also pushing for more and demanding more from the world, and working towards creating that for herself.
Yeah. Well, where can people find you online?
Oh, yes. They can find me on Instagram. I don't post that much, sorry. At Natasha Jung and at Cold Tea Collective. You can also see the latest stories on Cold Tea Collective at www.coldteacollective.com. I have to say it very slow because it sounds like cult. Sometimes I'm like, I swear we're not a cult, just to make that very clear.
It's okay. You should see me like telling somebody my email, and I'm like, self as in self, hired as in you're hired, and they're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.